Jungkook exposes HYBE's darkest secret in a shocking confrontation with Jimin, unraveling a storm of betrayal that shakes the K-pop world. Don't you dare silence me, Jimin. They've lied to us for years. HYBE isn't what we thought it was. Jungkook's words cut through the air like a blade, raw and trembling with fury. Jimin shot back immediately, his voice sharp and unrelenting. Do you even know what you're saying, Jungkook? You're putting everything at risk, your career, BTS, the fans, all of it. Do you really want to burn it all down? I don't care about the consequences anymore, Jungkook spat, leaning forward with intensity. I've carried this secret for too long, and it's eating me alive. You think silence will protect us? No, silence only protects them. You think you're the only one who's been living in the shadows of this company? Jimin's tone cracked, revealing something between anger and desperation. We all know, Jungkook. We all feel it. But exposing them, this isn't bravery. It's suicide. Jungkook's chest rose with uneven breaths. So you knew. You've known all this time and still played along? I didn't have a choice. Jimin's voice thundered, shaking with an emotion he could no longer hold back. Do you think it's easy living with it? Do you think I haven't lost sleep every single night knowing what they've done? Jungkook's fists clenched at his sides. Then why defend them? Why protect monsters who manipulate us? Who treat us like pawns on a chessboard? Because the world isn't ready to hear the truth, Jimin snapped, his words like fire striking flint. If you reveal what HYBE has done, the backlash won't fall on them first. It will fall on us, on me, on you, on everyone who trusted BTS to be more than just a product. Do you want to watch everything collapse? Jungkook's voice turned low, shaking with restrained rage. The collapse is already happening, Jimin. You just can't see it yet. Fans deserve to know how deep this corruption runs. Contracts forced with blood, promises broken, idols destroyed. We've been nothing but puppets dancing for power-hungry hands. Jimin froze, his breathing sharp. Do you even understand what you're accusing them of? Do you know the consequences if this goes public? They'll erase you. You'll be blacklisted. BTS will be torn apart piece by piece until nothing remains but ashes. And yet, Jungkook said, his tone bitter but resolute, I'd rather be erased than live a lie. I'd rather be hated than wake up every morning knowing I've been complicit in this nightmare. Do you understand? Jimin, I'd rather lose everything than let them win. Jimin's voice softened for a brief moment, almost trembling. You think I haven't thought of that? Do you think I haven't wanted to scream the truth myself? But you're not just fighting HYBE. You're fighting an empire built on silence, on money, on power that can crush us before we even breathe. How do you win against that? Jungkook's reply came with a force that left no space for hesitation. By refusing to be silent, by refusing to let fear dictate who we are. BTS was supposed to be about honesty, about standing with the fans, about music that heals. How can we claim that while hiding the ugliest truth of all? Jimin's head tilted slightly, his tone turning dangerously quiet. And what if I tell you that HYBE already knows what you're planning? What if I tell you they've been watching you, listening to you, waiting for you to slip? Jungkook's heart pounded as the weight of Jimin's words sank in. What are you saying? I'm saying, Jimin exhaled heavily, his words laced with tension, that you're not as free as you think you are. Every message you've sent, every call you've made, every whisper of rebellion they already know. And if you continue, Jungkook, you're not just sacrificing yourself. You're dragging me down with you. Jungkook's eyes narrowed, voice harsh. So you want me to stop? To bury the truth just because they're listening? That's exactly what they want. I want you to survive, Jimin exploded, his chest heaving with the weight of emotions he couldn't contain. I want to survive. Do you think I'm strong enough to watch everything I've built be destroyed in one reckless act of defiance? Do you think ARMY will forgive us if we turn everything they believed in into a lie? For a moment, silence lingered, heavy and suffocating. Then Jungkook whispered, maybe ARMY deserves the truth more than they deserve the illusion. Jimin's voice faltered, cracking with pain. And what about me, Jungkook? What about my trust in you? You throw words like daggers without thinking about who they cut. You don't realize you're not just fighting HYBE, you're fighting me too. Jungkook's breath caught, his chest tightening as he realized the rift widening between them. "Then maybe," he said with a raw ache in his voice, "you need to decide who you're loyal to, me or them." Jimin's response came after a long pause, his tone cold and final. "Maybe I already have." The room seemed to collapse around them as the words lingered, unresolved, echoing like a scar that would never fully heal. The truth was no longer a secret shared in shadows. It was a war declared between brothers who once stood side by side, now divided by the darkest truth of all. "Maybe I already have." Jimin's words still lingered, like smoke, refusing to clear, thick and suffocating, wrapping itself around Jungkook's chest until every breath hurt. Jungkook's jaw tightened, his voice breaking the silence with sharp defiance. "Then say it, Jimin. Stop dancing around it. Are you with them or with me?" Jimin didn't flinch. "Don't force me to choose a side you've already poisoned. You're demanding loyalty while threatening to burn down everything we've built. Do you even hear yourself? You're not a savior, Jungkook. You're reckless. You're desperate. And you're dragging me into your war. It's not my war." Jungkook's tone thundered, reverberating against invisible walls between them. "It's ours. You think you can stay clean by pretending neutrality, but you're already in the middle of it. Every contract you signed, every silence you gave them, it all ties you to their crimes. Don't fool yourself into thinking you're innocent." Jimin's chest rose sharply. "Innocent? Do you know what I've done to protect us? Do you have any idea how many times I've taken the fall just to keep you safe? To keep BTS alive? You think I enjoy living like this, with my conscience bleeding every night? Don't talk to me about innocence, Jungkook. I lost mine the day we signed those contracts." Jungkook's voice dropped, keener but more lethal. "Then why keep protecting them? Why not break free? You're too scared to admit the truth that you've grown comfortable in their chains. You'd rather be a caged bird than risk flying into the storm." Jimin's eyes burned with words unspoken, his hands trembling before he steadied himself. "And what happens when that storm swallows you whole? Do you expect me to applaud while you self-destruct? Do you expect ARMY to thank you for destroying the only thing that's given them hope? You think exposing HYBE will make you a hero, but you'll only become a martyr. And I don't want to bury you, Jungkook." "Then don't," Jungkook snapped. "Stand beside me. Help me tear the mask off their faces. If we fall together. But at least we fall with the truth, not with lies." Jimin's lips parted, his tone wavering between anger and heartbreak. "You think this is about courage versus fear, but it's not. This is about survival. And survival doesn't care about truth, it only cares about endurance. I've endured because I've kept quiet. Because I've swallowed my rage. Because I've chosen silence over annihilation. That's what kept me alive. That's what kept all of us alive." "Alive?" Jungkook barked out bitterly. "You call this living? Waking up every morning shackled to their scripts, their expectations, their manipulations? Watching kids debut with dreams in their eyes only to be chewed up and spat out by the same machine that owns us? That's not living, Jimin. That's slavery." Jimin closed his eyes briefly, his voice dropping lower, nearly trembling. "You don't understand what you're asking me. You want me to burn bridges I can never rebuild. You want me to betray not just HYBE, but the version of myself that's endured everything until now. And for what? For some idealistic notion that truth will set us free? Truth destroys as much as it saves." Jungkook leaned closer, his voice venomous with determination. "Then let it destroy. Let it burn everything, because maybe from the ashes we'll find something real. Maybe for once, the world will see us as human beings and not perfect idols trapped in their fantasy." Jimin's silence stretched for a long moment, the weight of Jungkook's words pressing on him until his shoulders sagged with exhaustion. When he finally spoke, his tone was almost pleading. "You don't get it, Jungkook. HYBE isn't just a company. It's an empire. It's politics, money, governments, corporations, things that extend beyond K-pop. You think you're exposing one monster, but you're opening the door to a labyrinth of devils. Once you step inside, there's no way out." Jungkook's gaze hardened. "Then I'll carve my way through every devil that stands in my path." "Listen to yourself," Jimin snapped, voice sharp as glass. "You sound like a man obsessed, not a man fighting for justice. What's driving you, Jungkook? Is it really the truth? Or is it guilt? Is it anger that you can't control? Or is it just your need to prove that you're stronger than them? The question struck deep, cutting through Jungkook's resolve for a heartbeat. His voice faltered, heavy with something unspoken. Maybe it is guilt. Maybe it's rage. Maybe it's everything I've buried for years. But I can't live in this cage anymore, Jimin. I can't pretend like I don't hear the cries of those they silenced, the lives they destroyed. Do you know what it feels like to carry the ghosts of people we couldn't save? Jimin's voice cracked. Yes, every single day. And that's why I stay quiet, because if I let myself speak, if I let myself break, there will be nothing left of me to give to anyone. Silence is the only thing keeping me together. Jungkook shook his head, his voice trembling but resolute. Then maybe silence is killing you slowly. Maybe that's why you can't even look at yourself anymore without wondering if the person staring back is even you. The words hit Jimin like a blow, leaving him momentarily speechless. His breathing quickened, rage and sorrow battling in his chest. When he finally spoke, it was barely above a whisper, but it carried the weight of 1,000 unspoken confessions. You don't know what I've sacrificed, Jungkook. You don't know what I've done to keep the group alive, to keep you alive. You want to fight HYBE, but what you're really fighting is me, because I'm the one who chose silence. I'm the one who chose to carry this burden. And if you expose them, you're not just exposing HYBE, you're exposing me. Jungkook froze, his breath caught in his throat. What do you mean? Jimin's hands tightened into fists, his voice sharp and filled with pain. I made deals, Jungkook. Deals you don't know about. I agreed to things you'd never forgive me for. I did it to protect us, to protect you, to make sure you'd never see the worst of them. You think I'm just complicit, but I'm part of it now. I'm already tainted. Jungkook's chest ached, his world spinning. You! What did you do, Jimin? Jimin's tone grew harsh, almost defensive. I gave them pieces of myself, my silence, my loyalty, my compromises. Every time you stepped out of line, I cleaned it up behind you. Every time you broke down, I stood between you and them. I did what I had to do. And now you stand here, demanding truth, when the truth is I'm part of their darkness too. The revelation slammed into Jungkook with brutal force, his voice cracked with anguish. So you're telling me you've been protecting HYBE all this time, not just from the world, but from me? Yes, Jimin whispered, his voice shattering with the weight of confession. Because if you knew everything, you'd never forgive me. You don't understand, Jimin's voice trembled. But not from weakness, from fury that was finally breaking loose. Every compromise I made, every silence I gave them, was to keep us alive. If I hadn't, you wouldn't even be standing here right now, Jungkook. Jungkook's chest burned as if the air itself was suffocating him. Don't twist this into some sacrifice I should be grateful for. You didn't protect us, you chained us. You chained me without my consent, and now you expect me to stay quiet, because you already sold pieces of yourself to them. Jimin's fists clenched. And what would you have done, huh? You think you would have survived a single confrontation with HYBE back then? You think your stubborn ideals could have stopped them? No, Jungkook. You would have been crushed before you even got a chance to fight. I did what you couldn't. I did what you were too blind, too naive to even see. That's not your choice to make for me. Jungkook shot back, his voice raw and unyielding. You don't get to decide how much of my soul I lose just to keep their empire happy. You robbed me of that choice, Jimin. That's betrayal. Jimin's tone dropped to a dark whisper. And you think what you're doing now isn't betrayal? Standing here, threatening to expose everything? Ready to drag me down with you? You call me a traitor, but you're the one holding the knife to my throat. Jungkook's glare hardened. No, I'm holding the knife to HYBE's throat. If you happen to be standing in front of them, then maybe you've already chosen your side. For a moment, silence hung like a noose between them. Then Jimin broke it with words that sliced deeper than any blade. Do you even hear yourself? You've become obsessed, Jungkook. You've convinced yourself this fight is about truth, but really it's about you, about your guilt, about your anger, about your need to prove you're more than the puppet they made you. You're not fighting for justice, you're fighting for yourself. Jungkook's breathing quickened, rage and sorrow twisting together until his voice came out ragged. Maybe it started that way. Maybe it started because I couldn't carry the weight of silence anymore. But now it's bigger than me. Don't you see? It's about everyone who came after us, everyone who's still trapped. If I don't do this, Jimin, who will? Jimin shook his head slowly. Disbelief etched into every syllable of his response. And what happens if you lose? What happens when HYBE decides you're too dangerous to keep around? They won't just end you, Jungkook. They'll erase you. Your music, your image, your name. They'll turn you into a ghost no one remembers. And I'll have to live with watching it happen. Better to be a ghost with the truth, Jungkook said fiercely, than a star built on lies. Jimin's eyes narrowed, his voice trembling as if he were standing on the edge of something irreversible. You don't get it. If you go down, I go down with you. That's the part you keep ignoring. You're not alone in this war. Your fight becomes my funeral. Jungkook's tone turned bitter. Then tell me, Jimin, are you my brother or are you HYBE's shield? Because I can't keep walking with someone who's already chosen the enemy. Jimin's lips parted, but the words didn't come immediately. He hesitated, his silence more damning than any confession. Finally, he spoke, each syllable laced with venom and despair. Maybe I am their shield. Maybe that's all I can be now. Because unlike you, I don't have the luxury of burning it all down. I've already sold too much of myself to turn back. Jungkook staggered under the weight of the admission, his voice cracking with disbelief. So that's it? You admit it? You've been theirs all along? I admit, Jimin said bitterly, that sometimes survival demands surrender. And if that makes me theirs, then maybe I've been theirs longer than I want to admit. Jungkook's voice rose, filled with a fire that could no longer be contained. Then I don't know who you are anymore. Because the Jimin I knew would have fought with me, not against me. The Jimin I loved like a brother wouldn't have let fear turn him into a shadow. Jimin's voice shook as he snapped back, and the Jungkook I knew wouldn't have thrown away everything we bled for just to play hero. Maybe we've both changed. Maybe BTS was the illusion, and this fight, this fracture is who we really are. The words cut so deep that Jungkook felt the floor beneath him shift, as if the foundation of everything they had built together was crumbling. His voice broke, laced with both fury and sorrow. If that's true, then maybe BTS was never real to begin with. Jimin flinched as if struck, his chest tightening. Don't you dare say that. Don't you dare erase what we had. Whatever HYBE did, whatever compromises I made, what we had with each other, with ARMY, it was real. Don't you dare call it a lie. Jungkook's reply was like ice. Then prove it. Stand with me. Choose me over them. Choose truth over silence. If everything we shared was real, then don't let it die here. Jimin's breathing quickened, his mind a battlefield of loyalty, guilt, and fear. He wanted to scream, to deny, to lash out, but instead, what came out was a whisper of agony. And if I can't? What if I can't let go of the chains because they've already become part of me? What if I'm too far gone? Then I'll fight without you, Jungkook said, his voice resolute though his heart fractured with every word. Even if it kills me, even if it destroys everything, I'll fight. Because someone has to. Jimin's voice cracked as he choked out his response. And if that fight destroys me too, will you still call it justice when you're standing over the ruins of the people who loved you most? Jungkook's eyes burned, his voice shaking with rage and heartbreak. If you're destroyed by the truth, Jimin, then maybe you were already broken by the lies. The silence that followed was suffocating. Every word exchanged, leaving scars neither could erase. And though neither of them said it aloud, both knew something irreversible had just happened. They were no longer brothers on the same side of the battlefield. They were soldiers on opposing fronts, each carrying wounds the other could never heal. The room was suffocating with silence, but not the kind that offered peace. It was the silence of war, of something broken beyond repair. Jungkook stood on one side, his chest heavy with defiance, while Jimin lingered on the other, burdened with secrets too dark to name. The distance between them felt wider than oceans, as if they were already living in two different worlds. The door creaked open. Namjoon entered, his expression unreadable, though the heaviness in his steps revealed that he had overheard enough to know the war had already begun. His voice was calm, but beneath the surface trembled a storm. I warned both of you, Namjoon said flatly. I told you that digging too deep would only uncover graves. But you never listened, and now look at you two brothers ready to destroy each other, not because of HYBE, but because you've let HYBE live inside you. Jungkook turned sharply, his tone edged with fire. Don't try to stop me, Hyung. Not you. You of all people know what they've done. You wrote words of rebellion in our songs. You whispered truths behind metaphors. Don't pretend you don't want to burn them down too. Namjoon's gaze hardened. I've always wanted freedom, But freedom without survival is just a pretty word written on a gravestone. I wrote rebellion because I believed in a tomorrow for us, not because I wanted to die screaming at HYBE's gates. Jimin's voice joined in, sharp, almost desperate. Do you see, Namjoon? Do you hear him? He doesn't care about tomorrow. He only cares about the fight. He wants to drag us all into his crusade, no matter who gets crushed along the way. Jungkook snapped, his voice raw. That's not true. I'm doing this because no one else will. You're both too afraid to admit it, but HYBE has already stolen everything from us, our choices, our dignity, even our names. Aren't you tired of being their puppets? Namjoon's lips pressed into a thin line. And what will you do when your strings are cut? When they replace you with another idol, another voice, another face? Do you think ARMY will fight for you against the empire that feeds them content every day? Jungkook, you're not just risking yourself, you're risking them too. The words stung, but Jungkook refused to bend. Let them replace me. Let them erase me. At least then, when I vanish, I'll vanish with my soul intact. At least I'll vanish free. Namjoon's tone dropped, his words carrying the weight of a man who had seen too much. Freedom without a voice isn't freedom. It's silence. You'll scream into the void and no one will hear you. Is that the end you want? Jungkook's voice cracked, pain woven into every syllable. Then tell me, Hyung, what's the point of having a voice if it only sings the lies they write for us? The room trembled under the force of unspoken truths. Jimin's breathing quickened, torn between rage and heartbreak, while Namjoon stood like a wall between two storms, his own resolve breaking under the weight of their words. But then another voice cut through the chaos, colder than winter and sharper than steel. Yoongi had been silent until now, leaning in the shadows, but his patience had shattered. You're both fools, Yoongi said, his words carrying venom that silenced the room. Do you think HYBE doesn't already know this argument is happening? Do you think the walls don't have ears? That every word you're spitting here isn't already being recorded, analyzed, used against us? You're not just tearing each other apart. You're handing HYBE the bullets they'll use to kill us. Jungkook turned, anger sparking again. So what do you want me to do? Stay quiet? Keep swallowing poison until it kills me too? Yes, Yoongi snapped, his voice laced with brutal honesty. If silence means survival, then yes. I'd rather choke on poison slowly than let them slit my throat in one clean cut. Jimin flinched at the bluntness, but he didn't argue. Jungkook, however, stepped closer, his voice trembling with rage. You've changed, Yoongi. You used to be the one who fought, the one who defied them in your music, the one who told me not to bow my head. What happened to you? Yoongi's response was a dagger of truth. I grew up. I learned that ideals don't keep you alive. You think I haven't wanted to burn them to the ground? I have. Every night. But I realized something you still haven't. Fire doesn't just burn the guilty, it consumes the innocent too. And if you light that match, Jungkook, it won't just be HYBE in flames. It'll be BTS. It'll be ARMY. It'll be us. The room grew heavier with every word, suffocating under the weight of choices no one wanted to make. Jungkook's eyes darted between them all. Jimin, Namjoon, Yoongi, and what he saw broke him further. Fear. Resignation. Compromise. Then maybe I'm the only one left who still believes in what we stood for, Jungkook said, his voice raw and trembling. Maybe I'm the only one who remembers what it meant when we said we'd speak ourselves, when we promised ARMY we'd never lie. Namjoon's voice cracked, filled with both sorrow and rage. And maybe you're the only one too blinded by your own pain to see the cost of that promise. The silence that followed was unbearable. It wasn't just silence, it was the sound of a family breaking, of brothers standing on opposite sides of a war none of them wanted, but all of them were already trapped in. And then, as if fate itself had been waiting for the perfect moment, the door opened again. A man in a black suit stepped inside, his face unreadable, his presence suffocating. It was one of HYBE's executives. The air shifted instantly, the tension thickening until it felt like even breathing was dangerous. The man's voice was calm, almost gentle, but laced with the kind of power that crushed resistance before it even began. I think, the executive said, his lips curling into something that wasn't quite a smile. It's time we had a conversation about loyalty. The words froze them all in place. For the first time, Jungkook's fire flickered not because of fear, but because the war that had been raging in whispers and shadows was now standing in the room, demanding answers. and none of them knew who would betray who first. The storm outside had grown louder, but it was nothing compared to the storm brewing within the walls of the dimly lit room. Shadows clung to the corners, the flickering lamp on the desk barely strong enough to push back the darkness. The air was thick with unspoken rage, suppressed truths, and the weight of betrayal that no one dared to name out loud, at least not yet. Jungkook sat hunched forward on the edge of the couch, his knuckles white from gripping his knees so tightly. His chest rose and fell with shallow breaths. The kind of breathing that wasn't from exhaustion, but from anger contained with brutal effort. His eyes darted toward Taehyung, who stood near the window, staring out as though the night sky could offer him answers that no one else in the room was brave enough to give. The silence between them was suffocating, brittle, dangerous, like glass that could shatter with the slightest wrong word. Finally, Jungkook's voice broke the silence, low but trembling with suppressed fury. "You lied to me!" Taehyung didn't move at first. His reflection in the glass looked almost like a stranger hollow eyes, lips pressed into a thin line. When he finally turned, his gaze was sharp, almost defiant. "I didn't lie," he replied coldly. "I just didn't tell you everything." The words were gasoline on an open flame. Jungkook shot to his feet, fists clenched, his voice rising in a way that made even the walls seem to tremble. "Don't play games with me, Taehyung. You kept me in the dark when you knew exactly what was happening. You let me stand there, clueless, while everyone else whispered behind my back. Do you have any idea how humiliating that was?" Taehyung's jaw tightened. "And what was I supposed to do? Tell you the truth so you could explode even earlier? So you could ruin everything before we even had a chance to fix it? Fix it?" Jungkook's laugh was bitter, broken. "You don't fix betrayal, Taehyung. You don't fix the feeling of being stabbed in the back by the person you trusted most." His voice cracked, not from weakness, but from the sheer weight of the words. "You chose to protect yourself instead of protecting us." The room was charged now, every word another blade cutting deeper into wounds that had never been given the chance to heal. Taehyung's eyes softened for a split second, but his pride refused to let him show remorse. Instead, he stepped forward, his tone laced with venom. "Don't you dare pretend like you're innocent in all this. You think you're the only one who's hurt? You think you're the only one betrayed? You've been hiding things from me too, Jungkook. Don't look at me like I'm the only sinner in this room." Jungkook's head snapped up, his eyes narrowing dangerously. "What the hell are you talking about?" Taehyung smirked, though there was no joy in it. "Don't act like you don't know. I've seen the messages. I've heard the late-night calls. You've been reckless, sloppy even. Did you really think I wouldn't notice?" The air shifted. Jungkook froze for a moment, then took a step closer until they were only inches apart, his voice now low, seething. "If you're accusing me of something, say it. Don't stand there with your half-truths and your smug little games. Say it to my face." Taehyung didn't flinch. "Fine. You've been seeing someone behind my back, haven't you?" The accusation hit the air like a thunderclap. The room seemed to shrink, pulling the walls closer around them. Jungkook's chest rose and fell more rapidly now, his face flushing with both rage and disbelief. "You don't know what the hell you're talking about," Jungkook spat. "You're twisting things because you can't handle your own guilt. You want to blame me so you can sleep at night." Taehyung laughed bitterly, though his voice cracked. "Oh, don't you dare. Don't you dare turn this around on me when I've been the one carrying the weight of your secrets. You don't think I noticed the way you've changed? The way you look away every time I ask where you've been. I know you, Jungkook. I know when you're lying. And you've been lying for weeks." The words lingered, burning in the silence that followed. Jungkook's lips trembled, not from fear, but from the chaos inside him. He wanted to scream, to deny everything, to break something just to release the fury clawing its way out of his chest. But instead, his voice came out keyeder, almost desperate. "You think you know everything, but you don't. You don't know what I've been through. You don't know what I had to do to keep us alive." Taehyung blinked, his anger faltering for just a moment. "Keep us alive?" he repeated, confusion flickering in his tone. Jungkook's head dropped, his hair falling into his eyes. His voice shook as he whispered, "I made choices you'll never forgive me for. Choices I didn't want to make but had to. And if you think I betrayed you, then maybe you're right." The admission hung in the air like a death sentence. Taehyung's breath caught, his mind reeling with the weight of what Jungkook had just said. For the first time that night, his anger gave way to something else, fear. Tell me, Taehyung demanded, though his voice cracked. Tell me what you did. Jungkook lifted his eyes, and the raw pain in them made Taehyung's heart lurch. No, Jungkook said firmly, because if I do, it'll destroy what little we have left. The tension snapped. Taehyung shoved him back, his own tears spilling now, hot and angry. Don't you dare decide that for me. Don't you dare protect me by lying again. If you've already destroyed us, at least give me the truth. The two of them stood there, chests heaving, hearts breaking, eyes locked in a battle that neither wanted but both were destined to fight. And then suddenly the door burst open. Both of them whipped around, stunned. A figure stood in the doorway, breathless, eyes wide with panic. It wasn't supposed to happen this way. Not now, not here. The secrets they thought they had time to unravel were about to detonate. Because the person standing in the doorway wasn't just anyone, it was someone who held the final piece of the puzzle, someone who had seen everything from the shadows and was finally ready to speak. Enough, the figure said, their voice trembling with the power of the truth that was about to come crashing down. You both deserve to know what's really been going on, and once you hear it, nothing will ever be the same. The silence in the practice room that night was not the kind of silence that gave peace. It was sharp, suffocating, thick, with words left unsaid and emotions clawing to burst out. The faint buzz of the fluorescent lights above only made the atmosphere more unbearable. Sweat still glistened on their skin after hours of relentless rehearsal, yet no one seemed to care about the exhaustion anymore. What mattered now was not the choreography, not the notes, not the performance. They were all staring at each other, waiting for someone to shatter the fragile glass of calm that could break at the slightest word. Hyunjin's chest rose and fell as if he had been holding back a storm for hours. His lips trembled, not from fatigue, but from the urge to scream. Felix avoided his gaze, though his fists were clenched so tightly that his knuckles turned white. Bang Chan sat in the corner, rubbing his temples, the weight of leadership pressing down on him like 1,000 bricks. The others shifted uncomfortably, their breaths shallow, their eyes darting between the three of them. As though anticipating an explosion, they could no longer stop. And then, as though the silence itself could no longer stand the tension, Hyunjin's voice broke through, harsh, trembling, yet deafening. You think I don't see it, Felix? You think I'm blind? Every time I look at you, I see that scar on your shoulder, on your body. But more than that, on your soul. And you keep pretending like nothing happened. You keep shutting us out. Do you even trust us anymore? Felix flinched, his breath caught in his throat. His eyes lifted for the briefest second, glassy and full of a pain he could no longer bury. His voice was low when he finally spoke, almost a whisper. But the weight of it made every heart in the room pound harder. You think trust is easy, Hyunjin? You think it's something you can demand when you don't even know the half of what I've been through? The air snapped. Hyunjin stood, anger radiating from his body like fire. Then tell us. Tell me. Stop acting like you're carrying the world on your shoulders alone. We're supposed to be family, Felix. Family doesn't hide things like this. Family doesn't let scars appear out of nowhere without an explanation. Felix rose from the floor, his movements sharp, trembling. He stepped closer, his voice breaking now, his Australian accent heavier in his anger. You think you want the truth, Hyunjin? You don't. You wouldn't even be able to handle it if I told you. None of you would. Because once you know, everything changes. And maybe you'd wish you never asked. Bang Chan's voice finally cracked through, deeper, calmer, but laced with desperation. Enough, both of you. This isn't the way. Hyunjin, Felix, stop tearing each other apart. But Hyunjin ignored him. His eyes bore into Felix like daggers, as though he was determined to peel away every layer of silence, every wall Felix had built around himself. Try me. Say it. Right here, right now. I'd rather choke on the truth than drown in your silence. Felix's lips trembled. His entire body shook, not from fear, but from the war raging inside him. The war between protecting himself and tearing down the walls he had built to survive. His voice cracked when he finally answered. You don't know what it's like. To be treated like you're disposable. To wake up one day and realize people you trusted, people who were supposed to protect you, left you bleeding. You don't know what it's like to stitch yourself back together because no one else would. The words hung heavy, suffocating the room. The members froze, their hearts thudding violently. Bang Chan's eyes widened, his jaw tightening as though he already knew too much of what Felix was hinting at but wished desperately that it wasn't true. Hyunjin's breath caught, the fire in his eyes flickering into something else, fear, confusion, sorrow. Felix's voice broke completely now, tears brimming. That scar you see, Hyunjin, it's not from some accident. It's not from clumsiness. It's from a betrayal that almost destroyed me. And if I tell you who was behind it, if I let it out, everything we've built here might collapse. Hyunjin staggered back as though struck. His anger crumbled, replaced by shock. Betrayal. From who? From outside. Or... His voice faltered, his throat closing up as the unspoken possibility sliced through the room. Don't tell me it was someone in this room. The silence that followed was worse than screaming. Every member's eyes widened, their breath sharp, as if Hyunjin had just unleashed a demon they had all been too afraid to name. Bang-chan shot to his feet instantly, his voice rough, commanding. Hyunjin, stop right there. Don't go down that path. But Felix's trembling silence was louder than any denial. His tears fell, his fists shook, and he turned away, unable to face their eyes. That very refusal ignited chaos. En gasped, his hands covering his mouth. Sungmin whispered something under his breath, disbelieving. Han froze, his usually playful demeanor shattered into an expression of terror. Lee No's jaw clenched so hard his teeth might break. The room spun with suspicion, with fear, with the kind of distrust that could rip them apart forever. Hyunjin stepped closer, his voice raw now. So it's true, isn't it? One of us, did that to you? Bang-chan grabbed Hyunjin's arm, pulling him back with a grip that shook. His voice dropped low, almost a growl. Enough, Hyunjin. Don't make me choose between protecting him and protecting the group. The weight of those words crushed everyone in the room. Felix collapsed to his knees, tears streaming down his face, his chest heaving as though the very act of breathing had become unbearable. His voice cracked in pieces. I can't keep holding this inside. But if I say it, if I tell you everything, this family will never be the same again. And then came the breaking point. Hyunjin, his voice trembling, his body shaking, whispered what everyone else was too afraid to ask. Was it Chen? The world stopped. Every sound disappeared. The fluorescent hum vanished. Even the air itself seemed to freeze. All eyes turned toward Bang-chan, who stood frozen in place, his face pale, his jaw locked. He didn't deny it. He didn't move. He didn't even breathe. And that silence screamed louder than any confession. Felix's sob broke through the stillness like glass shattering. Hyunjin's body went rigid, his lips parting in horror. The members' hearts collapsed in disbelief. And Bang-chan finally spoke, his voice low, broken, almost inhuman. You don't understand what happened. You don't know the full story. But if you're asking me whether I was involved, yes, I was. And I've been living with that guilt every single day. The room exploded. Han shouted, his voice cracking in rage. You? How could you? You were supposed to protect him, Chan. You were supposed to be his brother, his leader. What the hell did you do? En cried openly now, shaking his head, muttering, No, 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 over and over. Sungmin stared blankly, his voice hollow. This can't be real. It can't. Hyunjin's fury reignited, burning hotter than ever, his body trembling violently. You betrayed him? You left him with that scar physically, emotionally, and you call yourself a leader? His voice cracked into a scream. You destroyed him. Bang-chan's tears finally fell, though his expression remained rigid, haunted. I didn't mean to. I thought I was doing what was best. I thought I was protecting the group, protecting all of you. But in the process, I hurt him more than anyone ever could, and I will never forgive myself for it. Felix looked up at him through tears, his voice trembling with both rage and sorrow. You don't get to decide what's best for me, Hyung. You don't get to leave me bleeding and then call it protection. The clash of voices, the betrayal laid bare, the wounds ripped open. It was chaos. It was fire. It was the very foundation of their family crumbling beneath their feet. And as the night stretched on, the arguments grew louder, hotter, each word cutting deeper, each revelation twisting the knife further. They screamed, they cried, they accused, they begged for explanations, for forgiveness, for understanding. But no matter what was said, the truth remained. A fracture had formed, one that could never be fully erased. And yet, beneath all the pain, all the fury, all the heartbreak, there lingered a question, burning like an ember in the ashes. Could this family survive the truth? Or had the betrayal sealed their fate, dooming them to fall apart? The air inside the penthouse was suffocating with silence. A silence that felt sharp enough to slice through nerves and rip open hidden truths. Everyone's faces seemed carved in tension, their eyes darting to one another with fear, defiance, or guilt. The world outside kept moving cars, flashing lights, the hum of the city, but inside, time itself felt trapped, almost strangled by the weight of everything unsaid. Jungkook stood near the window, his fists pressed against the glass as though he wanted to shatter it and escape. His eyes burned with a fire that no one dared to meet too long. He turned suddenly, his voice low but vibrating with fury. So this is it? We keep pretending, covering, lying, while the truth eats us alive? Taehyung's jaw clenched. He leaned forward from the couch, his voice equally sharp but quieter, deliberate, like the strike of a knife meant for one person only. You think shouting the truth will save us, Jungkook? You think exposing everything is bravery? No, it's suicide. It's selfish. Selfish? Jungkook shot back, his voice rising. Do you even hear yourself? We're destroying each other piece by piece while the world cheers. Do you know what it feels like to be torn apart from the inside just to protect a system that doesn't care if we bleed? Namjoon, who had been silent too long, finally cut in, his voice heavy with the exhaustion of a leader who had carried too many storms. Enough, both of you. His tone was calm, but the steel underneath it made the room still. His eyes locked onto Jungkook's. I know you're hurting, but if you break now, if you bring this war outside these walls, you're not only ending yourself, you're ending all of us. Jungkook let out a bitter laugh, one that sounded more like a sob strangled halfway. Maybe it's already over, Hyung. Maybe we've been dead for a long time and just too afraid to admit it. The words hung there like a curse. Yoongi, sitting at the far end with his hand covering his mouth, finally spoke, his voice raw. Don't say that, Jungkook. Don't. You don't know how close we've come to burning everything already. If you break, if you expose it, there's no going back, and I swear to God I won't forgive you. Silence again, but this time charged with electricity. Taehyung rose to his feet, his eyes locked on Jungkook's with something darker than anger, betrayal, pain, a plea buried under rage. You promised me, he said, his voice trembling. You promised me you wouldn't do this. Jungkook's lips parted, but no words came. The memory of that night, the whispered vows under dim lights, rushed back to him. He had promised. He had said he'd protect Taehyung, no matter the cost. And yet here he was, threatening everything. I can't keep promises built on lies, Jungkook finally said, his voice breaking, his chest heaving like he'd been holding the words in for years. Taehyung's hand shook as he pointed at him. Don't you dare put this on me. Don't you dare. You think you're the only one suffering? You think I don't wake up every night choking on the weight of this? Jimin suddenly stood, his voice louder than anyone expected. Stop it, both of you. You're tearing each other apart in front of us like none of us matter. What about us? What about the family we swore to protect? His eyes were red, fury and heartbreak mixing. If you destroy this, you destroy me too. The words hit like bullets. The group fell into fragments, Namjoon pacing like a general trying to contain an uncontainable war. Yoongi glaring with silent threats, Jimin trembling with tears he refused to shed, Taehyung burning with betrayal, Jungkook sinking into his own desperation. And then, like an explosion in the dark, Hoseok's voice cut through. Maybe it's time. It all burns. Everyone froze. Hoseok stood slowly, his face unreadable but his eyes haunted. We keep pretending that silence will save us, but silence is the very thing killing us. Look at us. This isn't family anymore. This is prison. Jungkook's not wrong. Maybe ending it is the only way to survive. No, Taehyung's voice cracked. Don't say that. Don't you dare say that. But Jungkook's eyes flickered with a dangerous kind of hope, as if Hoseok's words had lit something in him. Finally, someone sees it. Someone admits it. Namjoon slammed his fist onto the table, the sound like thunder. You think survival means running into fire? No. It means strategy. It means patience. It means control. And if any of you think you can burn it all and walk away alive, you're fools. The room quaked under his authority. But Jungkook didn't flinch. Instead, he took a step closer to Taehyung, their faces inches apart, breaths heavy, eyes burning. So what now, Taehyung? Do we keep killing ourselves slowly? Or do we finally let it all out? Taehyung's voice was barely a whisper, but everyone heard it. If you do this, if you expose everything, you'll lose me. Forever. The words shattered Jungkook's soul. For a moment, he couldn't breathe. He felt the world collapsing in on itself. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out except a strangled, broken sound. Jimin covered his face, tears spilling. Yoongi cursed under his breath. Hoseok looked away, regret flickering across his features. Namjoon closed his eyes, the weight of leadership dragging him into darkness. But Jungkook stood there, shaking, torn between the truth that clawed at his chest and the love that bound him like chains. He wanted to scream, to collapse, to tear down every wall, but Taehyung's words had struck the deepest wound of all. Lose me. Forever. The silence that followed was not empty. It was a battlefield where every heart bled unseen. And then, without warning, the door burst open. Everyone turned. A figure stepped in, one they least expected, one that should have been miles away. The room gasped as shock rippled through them. What are you doing here? Namjoon whispered, his face pale. The newcomer's voice was steady, but every word dripped with the promise of chaos. I heard everything, and now it's my turn to speak. The war had just begun. The night in Seoul had fallen heavy, thick with a silence that was not silence at all, but the pressure of a storm waiting to crack open. The tension inside the dimly lit room was unbearable, each breath weighed down by words unsaid, confessions hovering in the air like ghosts no one wanted to acknowledge. Jungkook sat slouched on the edge of the couch, elbows pressed to his knees, fists tightening and loosening, as though he were holding himself back from either breaking down completely or lunging into a fight that might destroy everything. Across from him, Taehyung leaned against the wall, his eyes fixed on Jungkook with a mixture of hurt, defiance, and something dangerously close to desperation. Between them, the silence stretched, punctuated only by the faint hum of the city lights outside. You don't get it, do you? Jungkook finally said, his voice raw, almost cracking. You think this is just about us, about whatever the hell you feel when you look at me. But it's not. It's bigger than that. Bigger than your pride. Bigger than my confusion. It's about the fact that the world is watching us, waiting for us to slip. Taehyung's jaw tightened, his eyes narrowing, as if every syllable cut him deeper. And since when have you cared so much about what the world thinks? Since when did Jungkook, the one who always told me to live honestly, to stop hiding, decide that fear of judgment was more important than the truth we're both suffocating under? Jungkook's laugh was hollow, bitter, a laugh that wasn't a laugh at all but a wound split open. Because I learned the hard way, Taehyung. I learned that honesty gets twisted, that everything we say becomes fuel for people who don't care about us. I watched what happened to others before us. I watched careers destroyed, families attacked, and I'm not stupid enough to let us be their next target. The words hung heavy, and for a moment, Taehyung looked as if Jungkook had struck him physically. He pushed off the wall and stepped closer, his voice lowering but sharper, like a blade. You think I don't know that? You think I haven't lain awake at night, replaying every headline, every rumor, every whisper that tore me apart? You think I don't feel the weight of it crushing me too? But Jungkook, living like this, pretending, denying, shoving everything down, it's killing me. It's killing us. Jungkook looked up, eyes flashing with fury and pain. And what, Taehyung? What do you want me to do? Walk out there, hold your hand, kiss you in front of cameras, and watch everything burn? Watch our dreams, the band, the years we've built turn to ash because we couldn't keep our feelings in check? The room trembled with the weight of his words. Neither of them moved for a long moment, as though both were teetering at the edge of a cliff, waiting to see who would fall first. Then Taehyung's voice cracked, softer now, trembling. I'd rather lose it all with you than keep winning in a life where I can't even breathe beside you. Do you understand that, Jungkook? I'd rather fall holding your hand than keep climbing alone. Jungkook froze, his breath catching in his throat. The anger in his eyes flickered, replaced by something far more dangerous. Longing. He hated that Taehyung's words reached him, tore through the walls he'd built so carefully. He hated how much he wanted to believe them. His chest rose and fell with ragged breaths as he shook his head, fighting himself more than he was fighting Taehyung. "Don't," Jungkook whispered, his voice breaking. "Don't say things like that if you don't mean them."